Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Now that we've had a few days to fully experience what is the initial state of Black Ops 6 Warzone, I wanted to go through and give my brutally honest thoughts on the game, what I do actually enjoy about the game, and then also what I'm just frankly not a fan of, what I'm not enjoying whatsoever. Now, per usual, when it comes to my review videos, if you guys are active viewers here on the channel, first off, I appreciate you a lot. Secondly, you guys know I keep it a buck. Typically, I tend to focus more on what I don't like about things because that's what needs to be updated, that's what needs to be focused on in order to have a more polished and improved product at the end of the day. So while there is a lot of good takeaways in my opinion for Black Ops 6 Warzone, there's also quite a few things I think they could adjust or change to ultimately give us the best possible Warzone experience that we've had to date. I think, and I've said it before even Black Ops 6 Warzone launched, that this era of Warzone has the most potential. We're going to see the return of Verdansk early in 2025. The gameplay adjustments on paper should be phenomenal. Obviously, some in execution that we've seen since launch, though, are a little bit rough. But that said, let's dive into what I think about Black Ops 6 Warzone. And as always, we're starting with the good. We try and be as positive as we can typically here on the channel. Just the positive energy, much more fun way to go about life, right? So what I'm enjoying so far. First up, initial standout to me, the perk balance this year. It's actually pretty competitive, I would say. You know, going through perk 1, there's a couple of options that I truly have to weigh. I really want this some games, but man, in certain situations, this could be really good too. I think perk 3's balance is probably the best just because there's so many strong options there. You really can't go wrong in a lot of ways. It's just like, man, I really want this for right now and I really want this for then. Really, your end goal is just to get specialist, right? But I do think the perk balance this year is fantastic. And on top of that, the ability to have lootable perks in game, I think is really good too. Opening chests, opening different crates and whatnot, and finding lootable perks on the ground, just like in Warzone 1, I think that's a major W as well. Another balance change that I'm really enjoying so far is the changes to sniping. Now, in full, I'm still kind of torn on it. Like, the significant long-range sniping meta doesn't really exist with one-shots, but every bolt-action sniper being able to one-shot knock within its damage range, I'm loving so far. Now, admittedly, I've played a lot more Area 99 and Resurgence than I have Big Map, and so, you know, I'm typically sniping within 50, 60, 70 meters max, meaning most of my builds, like on the LR762 or on the Frost line, are one-shot headshotting, and it works great for that style of gameplay, and really reminds me of that classic feel-good meta from like the Car 98K or the Swiss in Warzone 1. Like, truly, the sniping meta feels like it's in a really good place. We'll talk a little bit more about the other general metas here in just a bit. Spoiler alert, it might be in the negative section. But yeah, sniping one-shots in that general meta there feels really, really good. I'm also a big fan of the general UI updates that they did this year with the menus and how those are laid out with the playlists and the modes there. Way better than what we've had the past couple of years, much more similar to Warzone 1. The general UI in game is also better in my opinion. Like, the HUD and the UI updates and the UX updates that they did this year, I think are definitely a big step in the right direction. Another thing I think they actually did really well, at least on paper, was the effort to update and adjust Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 weapons. If you caught the initial patch notes video I did covering all the Season 1 changes, it was the most weapon changes we've ever had in one single like patch notes list, particularly going through the MW2 and MW3 weapons. Like, usually in integrations past, the focus is all on the new game's weapons and they just kind of leave the old game's guns as is. They don't adjust them that much. They actually went out of their way to adjust several of them, and by several I mean a lot of them. They went through and adjusted the pros and cons of various different attachments for MW2 and MW3 weapons as well. Now, there's a lot of bugs going on with those, but the intent being there does lead me to believe that throughout the year this year, it might be at least a little bit different from years past where only the current game's guns are the meta. We might actually have some MW2 and some MW3 weapons that can hold their own throughout the majority of the year, and not just like the last 3 weeks of the year before the next integration happens when no one's really caring too much about the meta at that point either. So I do have a good feeling, I would say, about the meta this year and the balancing based off of their intent initially with the launch update, and I think that's going to improve in the coming days, weeks, and future seasons as we see more and more fine-tuning, and they definitely go through and fix some of the bugs and some of the random glitches going on with that stuff right now. Sort of staying on the trend of weapons as well, there's not really any like severely broken weapons in the game or broken metas in the game right now either. pretty much every single integration in the past has had some major weapon that just plagues the game. It ruins gameplay, whether it was the DMR in Warzone 1 with the Cold War integration, or the Bren going crazy in the Vanguard integration, the Interceptor, the Wasp Swarm, whatever, it could have been from any given year, right? We've had a lot of broken metas at launch, and this year with the Black Ops 6 weapons, it seems like they actually balanced them really, really well to a point where there's nothing that's like crazy broken. There are definitely some meta contenders and some better options here and there, but nothing that's like game breaking, which is definitely very good in my opinion as well. And then the last thing I want to note for my positive takeaways and my pros of Black Ops 6 Warzone is all the new Warzone grinds, the different Warzone challenges, and particularly the Warzone specific camo challenges. Love that. I love that I have a dedicated grind for Warzone now. I don't anticipate that I'm going to get those mastery camos anytime soon. The challenges themselves are kind of rough, but actually having that grind gives me something else to do when maybe the meta is a bit stale or we're not seeing that many updates here and there. I'll still have that on my to-do list, as a safety net of things to do when I don't want to be bored in games. So definitely like that they went all in on Warzone camos this year. Now let's shift focus to what I do not enjoy about Black Ops 6 Warzone. And like I said, we're probably going to spend a bit more time here. And as we go through all this stuff, if there's anything I miss, anything else you feel we should talk about in terms of cons or negative takeaways for this version of Warzone, drop me a comment down below. While you're down there, be sure to hit that like button as well. Help share the video around to get the proper eyes on it to potentially, like I said earlier, have that positive impact on the game. And while you're at it, if you're new here, you want to guarantee that every single day you're up to date with all things going on in COD, feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. Join us on the road to 1 million subscribers. But anyway, focusing on the negative takeaways. First and foremost, obvious one, the audio. Footsteps, character audio, any indication whatsoever that someone's pushing me does not exist. I've tested various different presets. I've seen a bunch of tests with the enhanced audio and the pay to win quote unquote audio that we've got. Nothing does it. The audio is just not reliable, not consistent whatsoever. We need some drastic updates there for sure. Another big thing with gameplay that just doesn't seem consistent is the delays in gameplay interaction, whether it be going into a tac sprint where sometimes you get like the walking animation first and you're not going from a stance, like a stagnant stance or a standing stance into tac sprint like you have before, or with sliding where you get the dead slides. Like gameplay animations feel very clunky. Interacting with armor boxes and munitions boxes takes way too long. It seems like there's a lot of random delays here and there that just hurt the overall fluidity and smoothness of this game. Like truly, if they tweak these things, I think this will be the smoothest version of Warzone that we've ever played with Omni movement in it, of course. But those delays and those random hitches have to be adjusted there. This is something that I'm so surprised I'm talking about in a negative way, because for so long I've said, man, in Warzone, having some kind of downed immunity would be so clutch. I am so tired of getting insta-finished by some dude in a corner before my body even hits the ground as a knock, right? I have complained about this for so long. Well, we have this slight downed immunity now in Warzone where when you knock a player for a second or two, you can't finish them. They are completely invincible. A throwing knife won't finish them. Your bullets don't reg on them. There is that actual immunity state, and it is throwing me off so much. I don't know if it's just because I have to get used to it again or what, but I don't like it. It's the same way in multiplayer in the kill order mode at the HVT, except they have a pistol there. It's way more annoying. But yeah, I don't like that my instant knives aren't finishing players anymore. I can't throw a combat axe right away and get that cleanup. I have to wait for that player, and they can start their self right away. So it's just sort of like a clunky kind of awkward situation of I got to rush to get this kill so they don't self-revive, so they stop live pinging me or whatever, right? But then I can't. So the downed immunity is definitely not something I've enjoyed so far, despite the fact that I thought that was something I really wanted in Warzone. So 100%, I'll admit, I was wrong there. Another thing that's definitely a big disappointment to me, it seems like a lot of the good quality of life updates from previous iterations of Warzone, particularly Modern Warfare 3 with faster reloads by default, faster mantling, default of overkill on all your loadouts, different quality of life updates from the past either have now been taken away from the game entirely, like where we don't have fast hands, you have to resort to a flip mag on some weapons, or certain quality of life updates are now tethered to perks. Like if you want to plate while sprinting or reload while sprinting, you have to have certain perks on and stuff like that. I just think those should be inherent qualities of all players to begin with. I think that helps with pacing, with flow, makes the game feel more alive and aggressive, and I think would fit in really well with this movement. So the lack of quality of life updates that everyone seemed to enjoy from MW3 Warzone and even earlier than that being MIA right now is a bit of a head scratcher, because I feel like that is stuff that really should have been emphasized in core gameplay. I also want to talk a little bit about interacting. We mentioned earlier like the delays in munitions boxes and armor boxes, but loot interaction seems pretty inconsistent. There will be times when I'm like looking largely up, so almost into the sky, I would say, and I go to reload my gun and I'm picking up a weapon off the ground. I'm not even looking at it and I'm accidentally switching weapons. Sometimes trying to pick up certain loot, it just doesn't seem like it's super consistent. Sometimes it's great, it's super smooth, I land, I get my gun, I fry. Other times it's just kind of awkward, it's clunky, I'm picking up things when I'm not trying to pick up things, I'm picking up the wrong things, so the loot interaction I feel like could be fine-tuned a decent bit. Shifting focus again, the gunsmith, you heard me talk about it a little bit before with their intent to adjust MW2 and MW3 weapons to make the meta more competitive. The intent was there, and I love that. It's just unfortunate that a lot of gunsmith values, whether it be percentages being wrong versus what the pros and cons say, or attachments not functioning as intended, stuff like that is definitely busted. It's broken. It's a problem. I have full confidence this stuff will get fixed, but clearly it's an issue and it is hindering gameplay. It's hindering loadouts as it stands, so that stuff certainly needs to be adjusted in some way, shape, or form. And then also with the overall meta here, while there is good balance, like I said earlier, there's nothing crazy broken. Gunfights just seem inconsistent as well with the time to kill and everything going on there. Sometimes I'll be frying with my AK, or I'll have an XM4 or an LMG that's just like, man, that kill felt like I was on point. I fried him, bunch of headshots, like the TTK felt super fast. Other times it's like, man, I have put a whole mag into this guy and he's still running away. What's going on here? It's the same, I don't know if it's server based or what, but the same inconsistent gunfight feel that's sort of been, a back end and a behind the scenes issue in Warzone for some time definitely is very present here in Warzone still. And then another thing, speaking of weapons still, that I'm a little bit torn on is just the bloat of MW2 and MW3 guns. Again, I liked the fact that they're, attacking them right away in the patch notes, saying we're going to balance these things. We're going to continue to look at these attachments and these weapons and keep them in check so that you have a chance to use them and them actually be good. But 150 plus weapons on day one, that number is only going to grow more and more as we see new Black Ops 6 seasons added in. It's just too much at some point. If you're a new player, it's incredibly overwhelming. To me, it would have worked great to have MW2 and MW3 weapons in Modern Warfare Warzone, and then to reset back to Black Ops weapons for Black Ops 6 Warzone and presumably Black Ops 7 Warzone next year. That's just my 2 cents. I feel like with all these weapons, all these attachments in the game, there's just so much that can go wrong with any given update. Like we've seen it time and time again. They update something on a random hotfix, or there's a seasonal update and they say they do this in the patch notes, and then suddenly it's like, hey, actually they didn't mention this, but this shotgun can now one shot, or this LMG now has way too overpowered headshot multiplier, and it's unintentionally breaking things update after update after update. And when you have 150 plus weapons and a billion attachments for them, that just adds in more opportunity for that stuff to happen and takes up more space on the game. Every download is larger. It is what it is there. Like the bloat of all the old games content is at this point, I think, more harmful than not in certain scenarios there. Again, just my 2 cents. I know a lot of people will probably disagree with that. I think an obvious sort of objective disappointment with this update is the lack of big map focus. Area 99 is cool. I like the map. It is what it is. We're going to have Rebirth here. It might be live by the time this video goes live. I think it drops on like Monday, which is the 18th when I look at my calendar. But with that, no big map. Urzik stands back to its day one state, so we don't even get the quality of life updates that we got throughout Modern Warfare 3. They had to revert all of that. No new big map until Verdansk. It doesn't seem like they care about big map battle royale, or battle royale really as a mode in general. And that's like the core of Warzone. That's how it started. So almost seems like they've abandoned that in favor of Resurgence. Clearly they have data to back that up and and something to like drive those choices, right? But I don't like it. I want to play big map, but big map is boring right now. I don't want to go run around the same Urzik stand that I've been playing for the last year. I didn't play it some in Modern Warfare 3 because they didn't change it, and now they're just doubling down on that. Hopefully Verdansk changes my stance on that. I have a feeling it will. Another thing that I'm not a fan of whatsoever, the global weapon builds. I play multiplayer, I build my XM4, I have my perfect setup for multiplayer, and then if I go into Warzone, I now have to start messing around and create a whole new build, and then I'm trying to figure out which build is which, and it's just like, it's good on paper, it's a nice design on paper, but just give me the option to create my own custom blueprints. Let me name them, let me save them however I want there, and then it's quick and easy. I can select them. I know exactly which one is which, or just have the global weapon builds default to their own modes so that if you have an XM4, you build it, then you change away from the XM4. When you go back to it, you don't have to worry about rebuilding it. You pick up where you left off. I think it's a good design on paper, but in execution, it's kind of muddy and it's kind of messy. And then the final main topic I want to focus on here is the COD HQ. Still not a fan of it. Surprise, surprise. My opinion on this did not change in the last couple of weeks. COD HQ is annoying. It's annoying for me. It's annoying for everyone else. It's annoying for people who don't care about Black Ops 6 or Warzone. It's annoying for DMZ players. They have to download huge updates that are not relevant to them whatsoever just because DMZ is a part of COD HQ. Same deal with MW3 players. Same deal with MW2 players. Same deal with people who only want to play Black Ops 6 Zombies. You're still going to get major downloads that have Warzone files in them, even though you'll never actually go ahead and play that. Even though Warzone's a separate download, you'll still be impacted by other updates and other things that change with that. It's just not great. Again, it's something that on paper is awesome. All COD games in one specific location, super easy to keep track of it all. They integrate easier, but it's also very problematic at the same time. So I'm not a fan of that. That won't change, but I wanted to toss that out there. Anyways, but those are pretty much my main takeaways, both good and bad for Black Ops 6 Warzone. Obviously, I could dive even more into the anti-cheat still not being good, the servers still not being good, skill-based matchmaking still being way too, tight, way too strict, but that stuff, as we know, is likely never going to change. I'll continue to harp on that stuff when necessary, when there are severe issues happening with servers, when there are severe issues happening with the anti-cheat, and there's been a lack of updates, but we've definitely talked about that stuff so much in the past, and nothing has really changed there, so there's no new information to bring to light in terms of my opinions and my thoughts on those specific things, right? They all suck, and hopefully one day they'll get better, but I don't have much faith there that they will. But that being said, that's going to wrap things up for this one. If you enjoyed the video, you want to share it around more, get more eyes on what could potentially be some pretty significant updates and changes to Warzone to make the game better, a like rating is seriously appreciated. It does really help out there. And if you're new here, you want to guarantee every single day you are in the know for all things going on in COD, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.